Hi, Jasmine. So you're at ISO 800, 18 millimeters, f5.6 at 1/30th of a second, and those settings are all looking fine for this image. The idea of photographing into a mirror is often difficult for students because they're going to be focused on like the frame of the mirror, or you actually need to be focused on the reflection, which is twice the distance. So it's great to see that you're nice and sharp in this image. The light that you're using, you said that you used a light to light up your hand so that we can see the detail of your hand, which I think is smart, even though it's out of focus. We want to see that detail. It's a really leading line for us. And that leading line leads us to the frame within a frame, which is your reflection. And then you also lit yourself and you said highlighted your hair a little bit with the light that was on your hand. So overall, I think the lighting's working here to feel believable, to feel like it could just be window light. It doesn't feel artificial. And then the emotion that you're trying to convey here is this idea that we're just in this twilight zone, and as you get sad or get bummed out about things, you look at your own reflection, and that's kind of your self-reflection time. So this is like a physical reflection, but also as you're reflecting on everything that's going on. And having that eye contact right back at the camera, as we've seen in the last few images, I think works so well to bring the viewer right in and start to understand your emotion. So you're made up, you have your eyeliner perfectly done, your hair looks great, like you look very put together, but then there's like a bit of a lost feeling as we're looking into your eyes. So that kind of juxtaposition of emotion, I think, works well for what we're looking for in this image. The background having kind of this curtain and having the I don't know what this is, like a towel or a blanket that you're on. I'm trying to understand where that placement is, so I find that a little bit of a distraction and would rather see more of you and less of that in this image, because I'm trying to like, what is this setup, what's going on here? And that's not all coming together for me. But the portrait of you, your emotions are definitely coming through here. You have a little bit of a catch light in both of your eyes, but there's still a darkness and like a solace in your eyes. Here we're looking at Kris's image, and you're at ISO 400, 20 millimeters, pretty wide angle, f1.8 at 1/80th of a second. So those settings all look good. That 1.8, because you're at 20 millimeters, gives us more depth of field than you would probably expect, as we're able to see like the back of your head is almost in focus, your body is in focus, and then all of this on the countertop is all in focus. So there's quite a bit of depth of field for f1.8. The exposure overall looks good here. Those lights are like pretty blown out at the top of the image, but the light on you looks good. The exposure on you looks good. And then here we know we're in the bathroom. We have some context for that as we're seeing the sink, we're seeing the mirror, we're seeing everything that's lined up here. And we're looking through something. I think you said that you had like a string of lights here that we're looking through. And it's a little bit of a distraction because we don't exactly know, especially what this is here. But it gives us something to kind of push through. And then we look at you as you're cutting your beard. It doesn't look like you're learning to cut your hair here. I think if that was really the storyline, that you'd need to fill that out a little bit, right? That we'd need to see like you watching a video on how to cut your hair or have all of these different guards out. So we knew that this was something new or something that wasn't just a trim of your beard, which is how this is coming across right now. So I think a bit of that narrative is lost in this. And you colorize this image. You just have yourself in color and only the reflection of yourself. You don't have yourself, the back of yourself here in focus. So that in general, I think is generally kind of a cheesy approach, just kind of gimmicky to just have something, one part of the image colorized. But because it's not like something that's super bright or something that's overly colorful, it works a lot better in this image, having just yourself in color and the rest of the image is all black and white. So what I mean, like if it was just everything that's on the counter, if that was everything that's in color, then it would look really gimmicky. But the way that you have it is more, I don't know, it feels more subtle to me in some way, and it's actually working well. And the idea that we're looking at your reflection, so like real life isn't in color, but the reflection is in color, makes me want to read more into that. So that starts to give me more of that emotional pull and question about what's going on. This image is by Zixin, and you're at ISO 100, 35 millimeters, f22 at 4 seconds. So a really long exposure here. And with that long exposure, you've moved yourself from looking up and away. We can see your eyes here to looking to the side. We see your shadowed area here, or ghosted, I guess, and then looking straight forward. So we have like these three, those are the three I'm seeing at least, views of you that happen over 4 seconds. Now, the light that you're using it seems like it's a little bit low, right? It looks like your chest is more lit than your face is. So I'd like to see a little bit more light on your face and maybe some contrast between your skin tone and what's going on in the background. That background is starting to kind of blend all together, or maybe that's your intent, but I think there could be more contrast, which would add another element to this image. Now, we see digital noise normally when we're using a higher ISO, but it also happens on many cameras when we have longer exposures. And we're starting to see that here as we look into the background, or even on your skin tone, you can see that digital noise happening. So that's something for you to be aware of with the longer exposure. What are you communicating with this image? We see you kind of looking at all these different directions, this blur, and then if you are trying to kind of mesh in with the background, kind of this like ghosting of yourself and confusion that comes across, I think works really well to express what's going on at this time. Kind of this like, I don't know, like when you shake your head really fast, and that feeling is what I'm getting from this image, and I think that reflects what we're all sort of feeling at this point. So I think that works well. As far as a portrait goes, it's not what you would generally want. You would want everything nice and clear, but as far as conveying emotion, I think this works really remarkably well. And then we're going to jump ahead here to Kassandra's image, and you're at ISO 400, 32 millimeters, f4.5 at 1/8 of a second, so a longer exposure here again. Now, you don't like being in front of the camera, most of us don't, but you care a lot about photographs, and we have a lot of images, I'm guessing, of you in the foreground or in the background of this image. So looking at just the back of your head, kind of looking forward, looking at all of these images, in my mind, you're like thinking of all the fun times that could be had right now and all the memories of what has happened in the past is a good expression of what's going on. So your exposure overall looks good. The exposure on your hair looks good. The light coming in creates some distance between your hair and what's in the background, but we're still able to see the background. And then what we're reading into this is this kind of wishing for something that isn't there right now, and memories, and yeah, being hopeful or hopeless about it. So seeing all these, and clearly like these images, even though they're totally out of focus, are events where we're seeing like out at the beach, or it looks like a dock, or getting your Starbucks, like these here out in the forest. It looks like these are big events. So we can kind of move between the images and get this idea of memories and what you're looking forward towards or looking back to. So that's coming across very well in this. So I think you've communicated very strongly the emotion of this time.